Good day, viewers, and welcome back to Faith Edition Table Talk. This is your channel where you're being encouraged, enriched, and empowered in your faith. And on today's episode, I have a wonderful lady with me whom I've only met a few months ago, and her name is Valerie Mac Donald. Valerie, welcome in the studio.
Thank you so much, Martha.
Valerie, you are married to your husband Roger, and together you have 4 children.
4 girls.
4 girls, beautiful
Yes,
girls.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for putting emphasis on that. Valerie was born and bred in Cape Town.
Yes.
But they moved to Gauteng a couple of years ago.
Yes.
A good, is it 20 years?
Yep.
Yeah. So before we start, Valerie, I would like to ask, anything fun about yourself that you would like to share with us?
The only fun thing that I know is that I love being around people. I love the fact that I can drink coffee with my
Friends,
girlfriends,
yeah.
and then at any time, any given point of time, if you call me for a coffee, I'm all ready for it.
Yes.
So that's me.
Yeah, I think that's something I love as well. So I agree with you on that. It just brings something, it stirs us up.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Valerie, today we're just going to have this conversation about your life story or a part of your testimony. Valerie has shared with me briefly her testimony the first time when we met. And I told her, Valerie, I would love to record something with you, because after all, this channel is all about telling your story for God's glory. And Revelations, is it 12 verse 11, that says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And I think that is so important for us as believers to do what we do so others can be encouraged and uplift, because we never know what other people are facing, what they are going through, and your story might encourage someone else again along their journey and their faith journey with God. So if I can start off, Valerie, and ask you, briefly describe to the viewers what your childhood was like. How did you grow up? A little bit of the fun, or must I say the good and the bad?
That is fine. So, like we said, I grew up in Cape Town, and specifically in the Strand, Somerset West area. There was, in the 60s, 1960s, there was an area called Halfway, and it's where the Gans industrial area is, for those people who know Somerset
Yes.
West. I was born there in a clinic, and I'm the first of 9 kids.
Wow, 9.
And so we were quite a busy, a very busy household. And so I can remember as a child for up to 5, 6 years that the happy moments of how my mom would walk around in a pram. That time you could still walk around like to the shopping center.
Yes.
And you can still do it, but most people got cars, and there's taxis, and there's Ubers and all those kind of things.
Yes.
And the other thing I also remember as a child, some of the good things is that the open airs and tent services was like something that happened in the 70s a lot.
It was.
So for me, is that for some odd reason, I would find myself in these 10 services, 10 services.
Yes.
And for those who doesn't know, 10 services, it's a lot of evangelistic services.
Like
revival services and things like that. So I used to find, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I used to find myself in these meetings, because I think it just was the way God was preparing me. So yeah, so if we can split it between good and bad, that is my nice memories
Like your
of
highlights.
highlights. And
childhood.
my mom used to do a lot of parties for us. Our birthdays were always celebrated. It's no surprise that, I mean, my kids can never complain about birthday parties. I believe that this is how I show my love to my kids or to my husband. I mean, I love birthday parties. And so this is my memory of a child. But then it's also like the memory of being brought up in a household where my father was African. My father was a Tswana, and my mom was a colored. So in the era that we lived, it was something a bitter taste, because when it comes to that is that you never knew where you fit in as a child, because the community regarded you as a black child, and when you go to your black family, then you get regarded as a colored child. So even the schools treated me like that. So this is a little bit of a bad one.
Yeah, so for the school system, it was also quite complicated.
It was very complicated in the sense that my father, I was now 7 years, I need to go to school, go to the colored school, and the principal said that I'm not welcome there. So my father packed bags, go to Kuruman, and when we arrived there, the school says, all the schools in the rural areas decided, no, your daughter is colored. We can't, you have to go back. And I remember there was a principal at Rostov Primary School, and I really need to say that because it's so important for me. Mr. Peterson, he was the school principal. And we went to the Sunday afternoon, we went to his house, and I don't know what the parents were doing. We were sitting there for hours. It could have been 10 minutes, for all that, but it was hours. And I remember we ate jelly and custard there.
Wow.
At their house, and they were trying to figure out how they're going to get me into school.
Yes, and assist your
Yeah, they ended up not taking me into school on my father's name, which is Gabusi, in my mother's name, and as Maasdorp. So I went my whole school life. I was admitted as Maasdorp, an identity that wasn't mine. Remember, you're born like, I'm born in a family, Gabusi, but I had to go to school on a different surname than my other siblings.
Wow.
Because, I mean, they couldn't. And I had to go to school like that until matric.
Yeah, sure. And what feelings arose, if you can think back, for you as a child? Because you didn't completely understand.
No, I didn't, but I knew that I didn't fit into the school. I didn't fit into my clan, my friends. I always felt like I don't belong. I always felt like I need to prove myself. I felt like I need to work and to feel that in order to come to your house, I needed to work for you, because I need to help you with your homework, because at that time I was very good in maths and in my schoolwork. I was always like this child that were like labeled as it's very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
So the result is, if you need maths, you invite me to your house, and then this is how I get entry to your house, because I can help you with your homework, or I can help you with maths, or I can help you. That was my life. And for all my years, looking back, I realized that I was only accepted because I could help you. I was only accepted because I could do something for you. I need to offer you something, because I wasn't accepted for who I was.
For who you were.
Because I wasn't part of the colored community. I wasn't recognized. So we weren't like, I couldn't just go to your party. You wouldn't just go invite me for your party, but you will invite me to come and do your maths.
Wow, Valerie.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So looking back, now I can reflect back and realize that where my big stuff were happening.
Yeah, yeah. And we are shortly going to move into that direction, but also just on that note, you are a qualified, is it accountant?
No, I'm not. I'm unqualified. I call
Okay.
myself as an unqualified accountant. I never finished my
Yeah.
degree, but I work all my years. That is the place where I find my joy. That is a place where I found that I belong. It's in accounting,
Yes.
because in school, even in matric, I was so good in accounting and specifically maths that the teachers called my father in and my parents in and to say, listen, yeah, this child needs to go to university. I didn't even know what was university at that
Yes,
time.
yes.
Really, I mean, it sounds not,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense, but really that was my reality.
Yeah.
I didn't. When my father told me I need to go to university, I just decided, okay, I'm going to university.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And I didn't have a clue because there was nobody in my generations before or in the current generation that ever finished school,
Yeah.
that ever went to university. So I didn't have
Yeah.
somebody paving the way for
Yeah.
me. So I went to UWC in 1985. Obviously, we all know what happened there. And then I never finished it. I tried again. I didn't finish. I tried again. I didn't finish. And but I got jobs that
Yes.
I walked in that I didn't have qualifications
Patience for.
for, that I am very proud of because it was
Course.
only God that allowed me to
Yeah.
walk in spaces when it comes to accounting and perform work that a qualified accountant
Yes.
was supposed to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that's very interesting, the story that you just shared with us, Valerie. I also recall that you said something during your childhood days, something very traumatic happened that has brought so much anger and resentment to you growing up in your adulthood, because of what happened in your childhood days. Do you mind sharing that with us?
I don't mind.
Okay.
So, um, uh, for my season as an adult, I always used to find myself in the space of where I get so easily angered, and I can be in a good space now and I can flip like that in the next second. And then I would repent, I would go back to God, and it's not long after that and I'm back into it. And I used to cry out to God and really ask him to help me get out of this almost like a cycle that I
Yes.
couldn't find myself or couldn't get myself out of it. And but it just carried on, and then I got this thing where I get back to and where I've realized that things in my childhood, I had memories of my childhood
Yes.
where I realized that those were the triggers. But so to give you guys, to give you an idea of what my
Yeah.
childhood like to
Yeah.
and that what I'm going to share is not at any disrespect to my parents. I believe that that is my reality, and I also believe that God healed me for a reason.
Yes.
And also, I had a very beautiful, which I didn't understand at that point in 2008 when my mom died. I was the only child that was there for a few days by her bedside. And I had a healing moment where she was saying things to me. And I only realized afterward it was a healing moment that I was going through for the things that she was saying to. So I love my mom dearly, and especially where I'm sitting now, looking back, I wish she was around it. I could tell her I understand now
Yes. Yes.
what she went through. I understand now with the knowledge that I have, I didn't have at that time. So what happened is like I, growing up as in this uh, multiracial family, there was always this thing that my father wasn't good enough as an African, and there was always this rejection towards my father.
Yes.
And I think that is maybe why my mom act towards the act.
Yes.
I really need to make sure that everybody understand. I
Understand.
understand where my mother was at that time. So I was about 6 years old, 6, 7 years old when my mother start acting very, very weird. She would go out with friends. My father would do night shift and he would go to work, and she would be there, and she would leave the house with her friends. And me, 7 years old, having 3 other siblings, would be at home. And we were staying at that time, what we call the community is called the Blikkiesdorp. Now everybody's staying in Rustov, which I assume somebody one day will listen to this. Rustov was a colored area at that time that had shanties. These shanties is a house built with, what you call it, with sheets.
Yeah, so it's basically like an informal settlement.
It was an informal settlement at that time. So we was house number 2, Blikkiesdorp number 2. That was our house number. And so my mom would, but it was very secure. I remember my father was very creative and making it very secure for us. So when my mother leave the house like late afternoon, whatever, in the dark, I mean, I would sit there and my siblings will fall asleep waiting for my father.
And your father is working night shift.
He's wearing night shift. So in my mind, he comes late. You understand? So late could have been 9 o'clock. Late could have been 10 o'clock. I mean, but in my mind, as a child of 7 years old, I thought it was very, very late.
Yeah, because you're fearful being alone with your siblings.
Exactly. So what I would do, I would find a little hole in the sheets and I will look through the hole waiting for my father to come home. As if you would come home while I'm waiting. You understand what I'm saying? I will come quicker home. Because that is what was going on in my mind. And then that is the one is, and every time when I tell myself the story, I had to write these stories in order to get my healing, because it was so traumatic when I started to remember.
Yes.
And as I was starting doing it on a regular basis, I found that I started crying less about it. Because it was so hidden deep in. It was so deep engraved. And then I remember as around the age of 8, was it? Around the age of, around the age of 9, around the age of 11 years old. I think I was 78, something like that. I think there was my father and my mom just finished. And so this, every year we would go with my father to his family in Kuruman. So the school would close on the 7th of December, whatever, bags is packed, we get in a car and we drive from the Strand to Kuruman.
Sure, it's far.
It's far. It's a whole day's drive in a bakkie. And so we will arrive in a rural area and then we will stay there for a whole month, for the whole of December. And this particular year, in 1978, we left as usual. My mom stays at home, she do her thing, and then we were off. Remember, that was in the time there's no cell phones. There is hardly phones to call because, so we don't have contact of my mom in that season. We were with my father. That time we were 9, all 8 of us.
Sure.
My youngest sister was 2 years old, and my brother was 1 year old. Off we go. And it's not so much that we go because it's a normal thing as what happens afterwards when we came back. So we came back in January, a few days before the school started. It was a tradition. And as we arrived in the night at home, we came to a home which was flat. There was nothing there. There was no house there. Late in the night, nothing. What was supposed to be a gate, my father was standing. I just remember my father standing in front there and watching this. Now, when I think of the story, I was there, I wonder what was happening in my father's mind.
Sure.
And then he got back in the car and he said, we're going to my aunt, my mother's sister. Yeah, so we arrived in by my aunt's place, and their house was already overcrowded. I mean, that time the families were staying together, like very close-knitted. And at least that time my father knew where to go, because my mother's sister was very, liked my father a lot.
Okay.
So we arrived there, we stayed in we slept on the floor for months. My father slept in the car. And I remember months after that, months after that, uh, 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 my father built us a new shanty in the yard because the yard was quite big. So we stayed there for quite a while. Now, I just want to go back that the issue is that I felt like when now looking back that I
Yes.
was really robbed of my childhood, because as a 6-year-old I had to literally step in almost like where I had to like taking a parent's role
Yes.
because my mom was not available, not even 100% available as in person, but also mentally and emotionally not available.
Sure.
The only person, the only thing that I'm grateful to God, or amongst other things, is the fact that my father was so present.
Yeah.
My father was absolutely so present. I don't know how he did it.
Yeah, yeah.
He was so present.
Sure.
So, I mean, I had to step into that kind of role, and that became my life. So when anything happens, I immediately will think further than somebody else would think, because I was groomed in that way.
Yes.
That I need to think for my
Yeah,
brothers and
step
sisters.
up.
Yeah, even in that season with that we stayed with my aunts, them. My brother, I remember my brother was 1 year old, but now he's 1.5. And 1979, in the day, do you know kids, when all kids is in the yard, I mean, when one goes to the shop, then all of them run.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I am 12 years old,
Yeah.
whatever, not knowing that my two baby siblings, the one is 2.5, and the other was 1.5. My baby sister and my baby brother. And they ran, all of them ran out together to the shop. Next moment, the one was in an accident.
Oh.
And okay, that was not so severe, but guess what happened that evening? My father came home and asked me, where were you when your brother and sister was running out of the gate? You were supposed to look after them. So, I mean, my father just had me, or maybe my other sister also, but I can only tell the story from my side, you know what I'm saying? Because I was the eldest. See, I wasn't allowed to stand and have friends around on the
And
road,
have fun.
have fun, because my father would tell me, why are you standing at the gate? You're supposed to make sure that you guys clean house. So that was my mindset. So obviously when I grew up, I almost couldn't remove myself from my siblings.
Yeah.
Even when they got married or we got boyfriends, I'm like, I want to check the boyfriends out. I want to be a PI and things
Yeah.
like that. I want to
Yeah.
find out, is this the right man for you?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I became so overprotective because I've been placed in that role. I didn't ask for it,
Yes.
but I was put there.
Yes.
And I didn't know how to get out of that trap.
Yes. Wow, Valerie, that's such an amazing testimony there. That's just one part of, and it's not even the full story, but thank you for sharing that and for opening yourself up to share. That is really valuable. So, you obviously grew up, became a teenager, you served the Lord with all that was within you, and the covering of the church was over you. You made really good relationships, strong relationships that you had in the body of Christ. And tell me then, if we can move on to how you met your husband. You know, all of us, obviously, as young girls, we have this expectation of what a good husband must look like and what an ideal marriage have to look like. And I'm sure you also had that same vision for your marriage. But first of all, how did you meet your husband? And yes, just give us a little bit of insight there.
Yeah, so I became born again at the age of 18. That is the one that I actually record. I think I got born again before that, but the actual one is not. And I got very, very involved. Like you say, I got very, very involved. So much that I threw myself into, and I'm not going to use this as a bad word, but into religion. I mean, in my religion or into the faith, I completely cover myself in it. So I just believe that you ask God for everything. You just
Yes.
don't even leave it out when it comes to a husband. I mean, you don't allow that a man touch you
Yeah.
unless God gives you permission.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was my mindset, my
It's
viewpoint.
beautiful.
And then I had this list before God.